I know you haven't seen me in a while, but I assure you that all this time I've been right here in this very cave, and I've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of requests to react and respond to certain things. And, I was hibernating until something awoke me out of my hibernation. And now I am ready finally to react to a video that one of you sent me. This video is called Israel versus Hamas, the Aftermath. It's by a channel called Mr. Spherical, which has almost 2 million subscribers, so bigger than mine. However, what I do think is that I have more knowledge about the history of the conflict in Palestine, let us call it, and I thought I would give my reaction and impression of this video, and maybe we can all learn something together while we're at it. Okay, right off the bat, it says Rafah, Palestine. Now, Rafah is a city in the Gaza Strip. With regard to the name Palestine, now Palestine can mean several different things, right? Palestine could be a state, right? The state of Palestine. There is no such widely recognized state, like there is no state of Palestine, a proper state of Palestine. But I guess you could still call the region Palestine, right? It's been called that way ever since Emperor Hadrian, the Roman emperor, beat the Bar Kokhba, the Jewish Bar Kokhba revolt, and pretty much expelled almost all the Jews from Judea, as it was called back then. And then he renamed the province into Palestina, right? Syria, Palestina. And it's probable that the name Palestine comes from the name Philistines, the people in the Bible who were the rivals of the Jews. So that's like, okay, these Jews piss me off so much that I'm going to rename where they're from after a people that they don't like. But okay, Rafah, Palestine, I guess you could, if you still insist on calling it Palestine, you can. I mean, it's been called this way for almost 2,000 years, so let's get on with it. Obviously, the kafia is supposed to signal that these people are Arabs and they're made of Palestinian flags, although this is really the flag of the PLO, right? The Palestine Liberation Organization, but it's been since adopted as the flag of Palestine, the Palestinian flag. Fun fact, it was originally the flag of the Arab Revolt. I have to say, this is really well made. Like, the animations are crazy.
Are you guys okay? Any injuries?
No, we're okay.
Okay, that's of course supposed to symbolize Hamas. The flag of Hamas, the thing that it says the Shahada, basically, which is the Muslim proclamation of faith. It's the same thing that appears on Saudi Arabia's flag or in Afghanistan's flag. What it says is La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, which means there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So that's like the core faith of Islam.
Hand me another rocket, boy! I'll go talk to them!
So we're seeing an interesting thing happen here. This is supposed to show us that there is a very clear distinction between Hamas and the poor people who are just trying to get away from the fighting, right? Because what we're seeing here is a scene of this poor family basically getting caught in the crossfire between Hamas and probably the IDF, right? We see all these explosions and bombings outside. So the Israeli Defense Forces versus Hamas are, and this poor family is caught in the background, and that they don't want Hamas there. Now, this is a real battle of narratives here, because it's unclear to what extent Hamas enjoys some support. We'll talk more about that as we progress.
Stay here. This one's for you, Ahmed.
What are you guys doing?
What does it look like we're doing?
Stop it!
Again, so it's portraying this image that the civilian population is caught in the crossfire. They don't want this war. They don't want Hamas to fight. Now, it's true they don't want this war. They really want the war to end. But most of them would probably say that they don't want the war because they lost, right? On the 7th of October, when they were, quote unquote, winning, there was plenty of happiness and celebration in the streets, right? So was it everyone? Probably not. But we do have some pretty good reasons to believe that Hamas is not as opposed as we would think. Like, no one really acts against it. Well, I guess it's a tyrannical organization that's keeping the populace down, right? But still, even against the Nazis, there were some plots trying to overthrow them. But here, there's no such thing. Is this a good comparison? I don't know, but it's food for thought.
No, they shot first.
And before that?
Before that, us. But before that,
Just stop now! We don't want any big target on us.
brother, did you forget what they did to us?
Oh, of course not. But this has to
The
stop.
year was 19.
Okay, so the Palestinian civilian dad guy is the moderate guy, the reasonable guy. Again, there's no reason not to believe that there isn't anyone like that in Gaza, right? But it if there aren't many, right? Probably. We don't really have any evidence that this is a commonly held opinion. Now, I do have a couple of polls that show that Hamas has lost a lot of support in Gaza, but the idea of resistance and of fighting the Zionist occupiers did not lose popularity. So it's the only thing that lost popularity probably is just losing.
In 47, some of the biggest countries in the world had a meeting to decide the partition of our home.
Right, so he's talking about the partition plan of 47.
All right, war's over. What do we do with all these displaced Jews?
Well, we've established the United Nations Special Committee on Palestine.
Bring it, boys.
So we saw there that on the western side, there was Germany, America, Great Britain, and the Zionist organization, right? As if the Zionists were supported by the West, which is true. The Zionists were indeed supported by the West, not by Germany so much, because Germany was not very relevant. It was just completely devastated and lost. And on the left, we saw the Arab countries. So that's about accurate, although later, after the Zionists were given the promises, the British were kind of walking back on their promises already in about the late 20s, right? So by 47, the British were not pro-Zionist in any sense.
Based on our findings, we recommend establishing a state for the Jews
So far, so good.
in Palestine.
What? Why me?
So we see the Palestinian flag, right, which represents the Palestinians, basically say, why me? Why the Jews are going to Palestine? So now, this ignores a couple of things. Most importantly, it ignores the fact that this flag, this organization, this recognition as Palestinians, it was not very well formed at that time. It didn't really have any representation at the UN, but not necessarily because there wasn't a Palestine. These people saw themselves as part of Greater Syria. King Faisal from the Hashemite dynasty, the same dynasty that rules Jordan today, wanted to take over Syria, but Syria was given over to the French. It was a big drama happening. And what the Arabs were hoping for was to establish a greater Syria, which would control what is today Jordan and Israel, Palestine, you can call it. So this image of having like the Saudis sitting next to the Palestinians and saying, oh, why you, why me? this is inaccurate. The Arabs of the region still hope to be ruled under one unified kingdom, but in the end it didn't work out. King Faisal got Iraq, the French got Syria, and Faisal's brother Abdullah, he got Jordan, Transjordan as it was called at the time, which was also originally part of the Palestine Mandate, but it was split off later so that Churchill could give Abdullah a kingdom.
Well, after Hitler.
Okay, so this shows that Hitler, like, he came from the West. Everyone are supposed to be ashamed of it, and so they can't really criticize the Zionists, right? So you can't criticize the Jews, what the Jews are doing, because you just had Hitler. Also, another thing that was ignored, maybe they will bring it up later, but it was ignored that there used to be some Jewish kingdoms in Palestine, and culturally, ritualistically, linguistically, everything, the Jews obviously have some sort of connection to what was then called Palestine. So, I mean, some people don't think that this argument is legitimate, but it still can't be ignored.
We needed a safe haven. The land of Palestine presents that for us. This is an attack on my sovereignty.
Okay, attack on sovereignty. There was no sovereign state on Palestine. There was no Palestinian sovereign state, but okay. Also, we saw the Zionist organization, bring up some reasons to go to Palestine. None of them were the cultural ties and the historical ties, which is obviously false. And from the Western countries, many of them were thinking about settling the Jews in Palestine as a fulfillment of biblical commandment, one might even say. We could quote maybe Woodrow Wilson, which was maybe 30 years earlier, who said that restoring the Jews to Palestine was like a holy duty, right? Even Abraham Lincoln talked about that. Napoleon spoke about it, right? Many people throughout the ages spoke about it, and there was a reason for it.
How are you even going to do that?
A binational state would cause war between you two, and we hate wars now, so we'll have to divide you guys.
Right, so the map that we're seeing right now, that's the original partition plan. Jerusalem internationalized, that's the gray spot in the center, green for Arab state and white for Jewish state. Okay.
For a more peaceful existence.
This is the map of Israel after the 67 war. This would have nothing to do with the 47 partition plan. Although if we really want to show the map after the 67 war, we would also see Israel occupying the Golan Heights, which we do not see here. And we would see Israel controlling the Sinai Peninsula, which we also do not see here. Okay, the last map was just something that Palestinians used after the Oslo agreements to show how their territory shrank. But again, that would be the 90s. That has nothing to do with 1947.
Stop! You can't force a bunch of people together and expect them to get along.
Well, we don't really have a choice, do we?
Why don't you take them then?
Well, I don't want a bunch of Jews. Bro! World War II just ended. Don't say like that.
Okay, the Jews indeed did try to immigrate to many different countries, to Britain, to America, right? During the Holocaust, there was a mass, many Jews were trying to flee Europe, essentially, Central Europe at least, and no place would have them. Even Palestine, even the British Mandate wouldn't have them, but they would do it illegally. Many of them couldn't make it, but some of them did make it. So this showing it as if Jews were allowed, just all of them, to be pushed into Palestine, that's incorrect. The only time when the immigration to Palestine was free was when the British Mandate ended and the Jews essentially proclaimed their independence and took over, and then there was really no one to stop the Jews from immigrating. But in 47, the Jews were still mostly blocked from immigrating. There were some very harsh quotas, and mind you, this is after many Jews were already Holocaust survivors in Europe and had nowhere to go. They were refugees essentially.
I mean, I'm just a small, tiny island. There's no space. And I'm across the ocean. We can't expect them to swim that far. Look, it's not ideal, but guess what? The world's not perfect. Everyone in favor, say aye. Aye.
I am not in favor. This.
We formally oppose this decision. Do they really think their opinion matters?
All of this, because of those stupid decisions made in the past.
Story of humanity, my friend.
It's all
Calling it stupid decisions undermines the legitimacy of Zionism. Well, you could do that if you want to undermine the legitimacy. Fine.
just one big cycle.
Do you understand? We have to end the cycle.
Yeah, I think I
Killing them all!
No! You have to stop.
I guess someone needs another flashback.
Again, this narrative of showing that the civilians are opposed to what Hamas is doing, it does not represent their needs or desires, they do not want to fight. This is false. Probably. We have no reason to believe this.
We welcomed you, and now you have overtaken our home.
They did not welcome them. The Jews were opposed almost as soon as they started immigrating, almost as soon as the Zionist idea came into life, the Arabs opposed it. So this whole narrative about we welcomed you is false.
I am sorry, but we have no other place to go. Your home?
That's true. They had no other place to go.
Didn't you hear? We own the majority of the land.
How about...
Again, he says, so we are home, we are the majority of the land. It took a long while for the Jews to be the majority, but about the statement, we are home, again, in this video, it's not explained what they mean by home. But I've explained it earlier, but it's probably not going to be explained here. So far, it hasn't been explained, and that, again, undermines the legitimacy of the whole idea.
We talk about all this.
Less talking, more fighting.
Okay, so the Jews are the aggressors. The Arabs want to talk, the Jews want to fight.
You asked for it. Get off our land! No! You get off our...
Okay, so now it's our land, but it's, again, not explained.
Sorry, have you seen my dad? No, I'm also looking for my dad. Okay, wanna look for them together? Sure,
Okay, so this is the narrative that the kids should get along and would get along. This is not true, of course. Kids who are different don't tend to get along, but that's okay. It's for the story, right? It's really well made, all the animation and all that. They're trying to tell a story.
Hey, that one looks like you! Dad!
Okay, so it's...
Look out, Dad! Hey, tell your dad to stop hitting my dad!
Okay, so this is supposed to show us that the war radicalizes the young generation. This is the narrative that this is adopting. I guess these two will start fighting now.
No, wait, he's winning now. That's your dad? Yeah? I hate you!
Yeah. So war radicalizes. That's the narrative here. Which is true to an extent.
This fight has taken everything from us. What else is there to do? I don't want my son to take part in any of this, and his kids.
Again, this is showing the narrative that the parents, like the reasonable people, want nothing to do with it. It might be true, but if it's true, it's not very common. It is widespread and very well known that in much of the Palestinian society, it's an honor to resist. They name squares after you when you suicide bomb a boss and you die. So this is just not reasonable. Like, okay, it is reasonable, but it's not true to portray this. The creator of this video basically took his conception of how people act and he projected his own opinion onto these other people, which he doesn't know that much about.
And the kids of his kids, and the kids of my...
Hey, you're distracting me. Boom! A hit!
Are we gonna see the Jews now? Oh yeah.
I found one under the rubble.
I like how they have ch when they say to make everyone realize that these guys are Jews. Now, the guy with the flashlight who's rescuing the Jew, he has the logo of the IDF on it, okay, of the army. So that's already interesting because this separates between the people and the army in the same way that we've seen the same thing being done on the Palestinian side, right? So we have the Palestinian civilians and Hamas, and also we have the Israeli Palestinians and the IDF. Now this kind of puts a parallel between the two organizations. Let's see if they keep going in this direction, because it's kind of weird if they do.
Dispatch an ambulance here ASAP! Sir, are you okay? Not my best hour, as you can see.
There you go. Are you hurt?
Why would they do this? What did we do?
It's messed up. Lots of disagreements that led to lots of fighting. Lots of fighting that led to lots of deaths. Lots of deaths leading to broken families and...
I have to say this thing about lots of deaths. I guess you would say that it led to lots of deaths, although the entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict, if you combine all the deaths that took place inside of it, does not account to as much as many of you might think. I'm pretty sure that in total there are less than 150,000 casualties in deaths in the entire about 80-year period of conflict. So it's really, okay, of course it's not little, but it's not that much if you compare it to other conflicts in the region, but even in the world.
Thirst for revenge.
It sounds overly complicated. What do we do now?
Requesting a missile strike on the north where the missiles came from.
Wait, what? But there are still innocent people over...
That's so... Okay, so this is exactly where I thought it was going. The IDF is paralleled here to Hamas, right? Because Hamas said earlier, what do we do? How do we solve it? We kill them all. And the IDF goes like, okay, requesting missile strike, which is, of course, very, very reasonable to attack the place where the rocket came from. But the civilian, the Jewish civilian goes, wait, but there are innocent people. Why are you doing this? So the Palestinian civilian and the Jewish civilian, they're basically in the same status, right? They're both the reasonable parties, while Hamas and the IDF are unreasonable and tyrannical and violent. But of course, there's a difference between the IDF and Hamas. Hamas is to control by force. Indeed, it was elected, and it did at least enjoy popular support. But in the IDF's case, everyone serves in the IDF, all the people. It's directed by a government which is democratically elected. So, the two bodies are not the same, essentially. But that's an interesting take.
Over there. It's not my fault they hide in areas with civilians. If we don't strike now, the next rocket will kill us both.
That doesn't make it right.
And what exactly is right, huh? Just stay back. The only way to avoid retaliation is for all of them to be dead.
This is not the IDF policy by any stretch of the imagination. The IDF policy is to try and not have many civilian casualties because the IDF is meant to serve Israel. And Israel is not very well served by a ton of civilian casualties because Israel is reliant on its allies and its friends to arm it and supply it and do business with it and all that, just like any country is, right? So you don't... it's not policy to increase civilian casualties. Okay, so now we hear a siren in the background back on the Hamas side, which is okay, Gaza wouldn't have a siren, but I guess it adds to the scene, right? That it's a panic and it's exciting and there's stuff going on.
What are we on? We need to run. Now! Now! Snap yourself out of it. We need to go. Now!
By the way, if this was realistic, it would be in Hamas's best interest to have these civilians stay here and die, because any increase to the civilian death toll or to any death toll helps Hamas in its propaganda war worldwide. And of course, all their videos and photos and all that.
Run! No!
Whoops.
Everyone okay? No, 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 no!
Okay, the dad died.
Look at that, little one. Look at what they did to your Baba.
Okay, is the narrative here going to be that this is the way that the children become radicalized, that become the new Hamas? If it is, then okay, that's a narrative that basically implies that the war doesn't achieve anything because you're not going to destroy Hamas by war. Now, what that implies is that the only way to win is by negotiating, because these are basically the two options, or you can just ignore them and keep letting them terrorize you. It's a weird, I mean, it's a weird thing to say, because what are you supposed to do in war except for fighting? I mean, it's best to distinguish between civilian population and combatants, but yeah, okay.
Who? The Israelites.
He would not call them the Israelites. First of all, the Israelites is an old name that refers to like the tribes of Israel, the ancient tribes of Israel, and the people in Hamas would mostly say that the Jews are not Israelites, but they're Europeans. Maybe they're Khuzarites who've converted into Judaism. That's first of all. Second of all, he would not call them Israelites because in Palestinian dialect, the Israeli Jews are simply called Jews, Yahud. So he would not say the Israelites. He would say the Jews. But again, let's move on.
They won't stop until they take everything from us.
That is true. That is indeed the Hamas narrative, the Palestinian narrative in general.
Come, boy, help me for your Baba. You want payback.
Did he just pull out an Uzi? That's an Israeli-made gun. It's no longer in use, but it was in use. I think during the 6-Day War, I believe it was. So that's an Israeli gun. It's no longer in use, but I guess nice. It's nice that he got an Uzi.
Right? I do. Then what are we waiting for? Let's kill them!
Okay, the Uzi. There is no way the Uzi should be this heavy for the child. Oh, look at the face. The animations are great.
Hey!
Is that the mother?
Okay? You're alive!
Yeah, that's the mother. She's alive.
Where's my boy?
Boy! Hey! Hey, boy! Your mom! She's here! She's alive!
Mama? Mama? You're okay?
Come on! Boy! Boy! Help me move this! On 3! 1! 2!
Oh, the drama. Oh, the dad is also alive. Oh no, did he die? Okay, I think he died. Then what was the point? What was the point of showing that he's alive if he died? It's like, okay, maybe it was like for the climax of the scene. I don't know. Right. Okay, so that's the video we've had here. It's very well done. The animation is great. Good job. But the historical narrative is, I would say, shoddy. But still, it's a well-made video. I guess there are worse ones out there. Thanks for watching, and you can check the video out in the description. See you next time.